roll call. Trustee Grinberg. Trustee
Present.
Schaefer.
Here.
Trustee Morton.
Present.
Trustee Wiley. New student trustee Emily Simons. And trustee Acker is absent.
There's nothing to report from closed session. 3.3, approval of agenda.
I'd like to pull item 8.9 to the regular agenda and make it somewhere between 11.4 and 11.5. This is the approval of 80-week out-of-state trips.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Back to the swearing in.
All right. Well, we are honored to have our new student trustee here. We're very excited to have you, Emily. Maybe we're going to have you for the next 3 years for life. But this is the time where Emily takes the oath of office, and instead of having her repeat a lot of what I say, I'm just going to ask her to raise her right hand and read this paragraph for your oath.
Okay. I, Emily Simons, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
And item 5, the news
All right.
presentation.
Yeah, so I was panicking a little bit when I walked in, thinking that I didn't see anybody from Muse, but are you representing Muse tonight? Okay, good.
I think somebody that is representing Peggy Merrill is trying to find a parking spot.
Okay,
So can we just,
so why don't we, can we do our?
5:15, we can go to,
Oh.
if you would just,
we go to 7.
yep.
Oh, here we go. Hi. Hi.
All I have.
Come on
opportunity for lunch and meals.
I think that's
Yeah.
off in the Horizon Conference, that
Okay.
they're thinking of doing that.
Thank you.
I just have to say that Peggy spent hours and hours in personal resources raising money for news. She is just this incredible woman, incredible resource for the community, but really had passion for education. Okay, 5:15. Gonna wait or should we go ahead? Just
Good.
That's good.
Probably.
yeah. Okay. So do you want to-
Sure. So at this time, we will skip to our public hearing. This is where we sunshine items to be negotiated between the bargaining units in the district. So we're going to start off with CMIS. So I'll ask Jeannie, or is Jeannie here? Oh, so no one is here on behalf of CMIS. So maybe they are not sunshining anything, but at this time I will indicate that we will be sunshining Appendix C with CMIS and Article 11, which is wages with CMIS. So I will, I can open this.
What are those articles again?
Appendix C has to do with with the ranges and the supervisory roles of each CMIS job. So we've added some jobs in for the classified staff, and so we need to update that along with their ranges. And then Article 11 is wages.
So I think you'll remember that we had that elaborate chart
Right.
that said
Yep.
who reported to whom and where bumping rights were,
It was about bumping rights.
Yes.
and now it's out of date. So
Got it.
So I'll open that up for public comment. Anybody would like to make a comment? Okay, so hearing none, we will close that public hearing and move on to the public hearing of sunshining items to be negotiated with the MTA. And I'll invite Jenny Otter to let us know.
Thank you. Mendocino teachers will be opening Appendix A, which is athletic and special assignment stipends. Article 9, which is complaints concerning employees. Article 10, working conditions for class size in elementary split level classes. And Article 13, compensation language for travel and conferences.
All right. And
Let me get you a copy of that.
thank you. And the district will be opening Appendix A as well. That's the stipend list. Article 17, professional development. And Article 7, the certificated employee evaluation procedures. And now I'd like to open that up for public comment.
I'd just like to hear what Appendix A was again. I didn't.
Appendix A is it's the athletic and special assignment stipends.
Okay.
Any other comment, question? Okay, I'll go ahead and close that public hearing.
I think you might want to say that you're going to start meeting next month, and you're going to hopefully conclude by May.
Yeah, last year I think we were up against some timeframes in June, and it was rather rushed with some of the language in the contract, and there was some miscommunication because of that. So we're starting early. We usually do this in December. We decided to start in November with the hope of meeting next month for the first time, and finishing in May.
of music in the schools this last week. We had Mendocino graduate and Corwin Ezekiel and his quartet come in and give a performance to all the K-8 students. Very well received. It was a lot of fun watching the students boogie on the ground as they were sitting on the floor watching. And they had an opportunity to ask questions, and it was just, it was a nice event. It was well done. I wanted to give you guys an update on our math adoption team too. The math adoption team has been meeting for a little over a year now, and we have narrowed it down to 2 different programs. And we recently met with all of the K-5 staff and have decided to pilot both of them so the entire staff can have input into the decision we make in going forward. So we're going to begin that pilot this year, and it will run into next year. So by the end of next year, we will be ready to adopt a new math program for our K-5 students. We recently had the book fair at the K-8 campus. It's always a lively, fun event. Thank you to the PTO and Gallery Bookshop who puts on the book fair. It's a 3-day event that brings lots of excitement and lots of activity to the campus. It was very well attended by parents this year in the afternoons and after school and even during school. And in my leadership team today, we had a little bit of discussion about how smoothly it went. Sometimes we had some bumps in the road with students and how to behave in the book fair, but it was very well run this year, and it was just exciting to have. So big thank you to them. We are offering a series of parenting workshops, and we had the first event on Monday, the 17th, and absolutely no one came. It was very sad and disappointing. Chris Skyhawk is running the workshops, and we really put out the word. We even had individual contact with parents, inviting them. And so he's going to come again and try one more session. He had planned a 4-series event, but he's going to have one more session and see how it goes. We are even providing childcare. So we just are really hoping to get a group of parents, even if they just want to come talk during that time. So if you know anyone who might be interested, I'll get you the date of the next event and you can get the word out to them. We had our writing assessment. K-8 participated in it this year. And we also had an award assembly for that on Halloween, which was great. So we had all students, kindergarten through 8th grade, write to a prompt, and 4th through 8th grade, teachers sat down and scored all the writing, and students in 6th through 8th grade received rewards for receiving a 4 based on rubric that they have, so which is always a fun event for them. And we're really trying to get it to be a K-8 event instead of just 6th, 8th. Years past, it's been 6th through 8th graders who participated in that, so it's nice to get the younger guys involved in that. And then finally, we have the scripts spelling bee that has been brought to our site and starting to work. Jason is working with the K-8 students doing the script spelling bee, and they're all excited about it as well. And so we have events planned next month, I believe, for all the spelling bees for the different categories. So it's very exciting for the kids too. And that's it.
Could you tell me which math textbooks you're thinking about?
Sure. We are the Everyday Math 4 and Bridges are the 2 programs we're looking at. Yeah.
All right. I'm just gonna point out a couple of donations in the consent agenda calendar that I think were very significant. One is $5,000 from the Simple and Sweet Fund, the Tides Foundation. This is an organization that connects donors with who want to remain anonymous, but they connect with the organization that's receiving the donation. And we got a donation of $5,000 for the expenses for the Greenwood Preschool. And from what I'm understanding, it's needing an annual thing. So it's fantastic that someone's stepping up in that community. And then that's in addition to a recent $2,000 donation from another community member. So already we've received $7,000 in donations for the Greenwood Preschool. That is also in addition to a lot of labor and love down there at that school from the community. And then we also received a generator to be for backup here at the K-8 school. And from what I'm understanding, when the school was redone, it was wired and it was prepped for a generator generous donations from our community and very much appreciated. Let's see. I was also going to put a plug in for the parenting workshop. I know Chris Skyhawk pretty well, and I think that he will put on a wonderful workshop. So if anyone knows of anyone who would like to attend, this is really for K through 8 age parents. Please come on the Monday following the break, December 1st, at 4 o'clock, I believe, at the K-8 library here. And then I had the good fortune of doing a ride-along recently with Mendocino County Sheriff's Department, patrol sergeant. One, I'm just curious. And two, I wanted to just pick his brain about some school-related issues. So we talked a bit about campus security, campus safety, and also weekend parties, high school parties. And kind of we just talked about how they could help. He wanted to let me know what they did, what their procedures were. We talked about wanting to hold parents more accountable for not just providing a space to allow students to drink freely and to just not have any supervision. Parents need to be held accountable. We've talked about having trusted safety contacts that we can provide to our students, as well as a buddy system so we can keep an eye on each other. And of course, the need for more counseling and mental health resources in our community as an aside. But I already have a lot of respect for our law enforcement agencies, and just after spending 5 or 6 hours with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Department, my respect just grew that much more. It's amazing the work that they do. So we report that as well.
Thank you.
And could I introduce you?
Yes, please.
All right, and we are honored to have our new district technology integration teacher, Rebecca Village. She's here to give us an update on technology in the district. And I purposefully went first because I don't want to follow Rebecca. I'll let Sage do that.
Thanks.
Thinking about it. Okay. As Jason mentioned, my name is Rebecca Bailey. I'm the new district technology integration teacher. Not a position that is very common, and I'm very excited that I'm able to have that, especially in Mendocino School District. I do lots of different things. I spend time working with teachers developing lesson plans and curriculum that integrates technology. I work in classrooms with students one-on-one. I provide professional development in after-school seminars, minimum days, one-to-one in teachers' classrooms, and I help to guide some technology purchases. Recently, I've spent quite a lot of money on technology, trying to make sure the best or most appropriate technology makes its way to the right classroom, and also working to facilitate the conversations between teachers and administration about what technology they need and the best way to get it set up and their students and themselves using it. So, I'd like to show you, I'm going to give you a little bit of an update about what's been happening with technology since I arrived in August. The very first thing I'd like to show you is a summary of some of the technology that Mendocino has purchased. Some of this happened in the summer, some of this has happened in the last few months. There have been a wide variety of devices, software that have been put forward so that we can successfully integrate more technology so that our students are reaching their full potential. technology purchases that have been handled so far has been giving teachers the opportunity to put forward that they would like in their classroom, so we've tried to get as much innovation as possible. We saw a range of different things that have been integrated so far. There's obviously a lot more that we can do, and we'll be looking at making a full audit of what technology we actually have and how best to plan for not just getting new technology and getting that innovation, but also planning so that it's sustainable. One of the things that we are lucky that we hopefully will be able to maximise is the EdTech K-12 voucher program, which arrived through the Microsoft settlement. We've just had a little bit more money made available, so we're in the process of making sure that we can claim some money back, and hopefully, if that works, then we have a few plans to integrate some Chromebooks, both at the high school and a couple of other programs. This works really, really well because we've been working hard. Maintenance, also on his crew, and James have been working hard to get wireless ready to go, and that will be ready by December 1st, both at the K-8 and the high school. Really important given the wide range of Web 2.0 tools that are out there, as well as students being able to research. And Chromebooks would be a great, relatively inexpensive device that might be able to bring more technology to a lot of different students. Okay, so the big thing that we've been working on is Google Apps for Education. So this is a free system if you're not aware of it. It's offered by Google, but it gives Mendocino our own domain, which is mendocinostudents.org. That means that students all the way from 4th through 12th grade with parent permission can have an email account. They have access to the whole plethora of Google tools, as well as Google Classroom, which is just available for educational institutions. And the key thing for me is that we can control what data is actually shared with Google. It's not everything when they're signed, like they would if they were signing up for a personal account. We can set up so that different age and for students can access different tools. And it really does help us to communicate, collaborate and share within our Mendocino bubble. I see that as incredibly important, especially as we start seeing more of the collaboration, communication, not just face-to-face, but digitally in the Common Core State Standards. Okay, so we've been working hard to develop some grade level standards for technology, and at this stage it's still a draft, but we're working to make sure that all of our students get the opportunity to learn digital citizenship and collaboration, information literacy, community systems, care and maintenance. You can see I didn't proofread this. No, still not. There's a lot that our students need to learn, and scaffolding all the way from K through 12th grade I think is really important. We assume that because they're digital natives, this stuff is automatic. In my experience teaching computer science, that doesn't always work. There are often large gaps, especially in the digital citizenship piece. And I think these standards are particularly important because it focuses on like problem solving, research, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and computational thinking. A component of this is keyboarding. I remember learning keyboarding at school. I think it's become more and more important, especially as students are getting access to devices earlier and earlier in their development, where they're using iPads or cell phones, and they can all text and type on their iPads pretty fast. But honestly, we need to make sure that they can keyboard and they develop good habits. We're having lots of conversations at the K about how to best teach them this skill and where the balance lies between handwriting and other important things. Common Core State Standards require students to, in grade 3, with guidance and support from adults, use technology to produce published writing using keyboarding skills, as well as to interact with others and collaborate. When we did the field test last year, when I've done the field test in other schools, third graders had to type quite a big chunk. And so it's challenging if they're still using this method. So this is a work in progress, but we are aware of it, and we're trying to figure out the best way to make sure that the students develop those skills without taking away from the other things that they're trying to learn. So with all this new technology that we've bought, technology support has become even more critical. And so at the beginning of the year, we registered for My Tech Desk, which is a free, completely online ticket management system for all the technical problems that arise, be they support for using a particular program or service, or because the printer's not working. This seems to be working well. It's speeding up some of the ticket times, making it a little bit more efficient, making sure that technology is not down for as long as it can be. Two other things that go hand in hand with that, I think, are supporting teachers and students to learn how to use technology and maybe do basic troubleshooting. I've put together two internal websites, one that is designed for teachers and one that's designed for students. And the idea is that these are go-to places, not just to learn about how to fix little problems, but for teachers to see lessons that have already been taught on particular technology tools, for teachers to see how to use certain technology tools. There are tutorials, there are other resources, there's all kinds of things on here, and I hope that they will continue to expand and continue to be a place where teachers and students can get support. Okay, professional development. As well as the rapid developments in all the technology that we use in terms of hardware, Web 2.0 has changed the way that we do a lot of things. We can communicate, share, create online, often for free, in lots of different ways. But keeping up with those things can be quite challenging because they seem to change on a month-to-month basis. We have a combination of in-house professional development through our staff meetings, our regular staff meetings, through minimum days, through we're piloting drop-in sessions, and also teachers have been to 2 conferences related to technology this year. ARIES, which is our student data management system, and seeing how we can maximize that since we already use it. There's a lot of ways that we're not really making the most of the system. And also CUE, which stands for Computer Using Educators, that myself and Molly and a few other teachers were able to attend to get some ideas about what other schools are doing in their classroom. And there's a big focus on computer science and programming there. It's quite interesting. And then finally, the thing that I'm really excited about is between December 8th and the 14th is Computer Science Week. And Mendocino Unified is going to be participating in the Hour of Code. This means that students will be doing a little bit of coding all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. That doesn't mean to say that they're all going to be sat in front of a computer. Some of the students are going to be working on sequencing, problem solving. Others will be guiding zombies to eat flowers in mazes. So it should be a very interesting week. I have a very short video that it's not showing on there, so hopefully it works.
Here we are, 2013. We all depend on technology to communicate, to think, and none of us know how to read and write code.
The first program I wrote asked things like, what's your favorite color? Or how old are you?
I wrote a program to play tic-tac-toe.
I first learned how to make a green circle and a red square appear on the screen.
You're just trying to make something, trying to transfer something from your mind to the computer or to the tablet. It's an experience.
The whole limit in the system is just that there just aren't enough people who are trained and have these skills today.
The programmers of tomorrow are the wizards of the future. You know, you're going to look like you have magic powers compared to everybody else.
Great coders are today's rock stars. That's it.
What I hope from doing this in December, participating in Computer Science Week in the Hour of Code, is that we open up the opportunity for maybe going in a direction that students haven't thought about before, because I know that computer science and programming doesn't always excite people. But I think the imagination, the problem solving, it's actually a lot more fun than its reputation might allude. And along with the grade level standards, integrating a little bit of computer science in each of the grade levels so that students are really prepared for the 21st century technology-filled world that they're about to enter into when they leave high school. So if you have any questions, let us
Any questions for Rebecca? Thank you. So, we have one back here.
Yeah, I have a question. You said that it's going to go live December 1st in the high school and with all the Wi-Fi? Or is it, when you say it goes live, is that going to be filtered out to other sites? Is there any restrictions on what sites you go to? Or is, you know, I just want to wide open.
In actual fact, there's not going to be a huge change in terms of the student experience because we're not changing the filtering system. We still go through MCOE for that. The K-8's actually already using the 4 networks that we've set up. The high school will be set up and it will all be turned on. It's ready to go, it just needs to be switched on, and that'll be by December 1st. But the filtering is still there.
All right, so like, what wouldn't they be able to access? For example, what is the filter? Is it a censoring site or something, or is it?
Yes, so I mean, partly it's through the Mendocino County Office of Education, so it controls what sites the students can get to. And the way that we have the network set up, we have certain levels of filtering. So things like YouTube and Facebook and everything, social media and things. So there's a balance. And certainly at high school when they're 9th, 10th, 12th, 11th, 12th, that's where the digital citizenship piece and making sure that they can be responsible when they're online. Before we actually, yeah.
Well, what I'm asking is like, so they can't access YouTube, right?
It depends.
that's what I'm trying to get at. What do you mean it depends?
Well, it depends on how the restrictions are set in certain rooms. If it's a classroom, if the teacher is teaching and it's set up with the devices and the computer lab, then there is a lot of educational value in YouTube. There's a lot of things on YouTube that don't have educational value, so that's available to students.
But I was just wondering, how do you? Is a way to filter out the undesirable out of YouTube? Is that what you're saying to me?
There are certain restrictions. The way that Google is set up, it blocks certain profanity and whatnot.
Right.
And there's always going to be something
No,
that
I know,
gets through
I
YouTube.
realize that, but I mean, does that apply to Facebook too, and all the social media sites too? I mean, because they can access it via their phones, we know
Right.
that, you know, so I mean,
So the conversation about how the levels of filtering is something that's still ongoing with the teachers at the high school.
Yeah.
So once that's finalized, we'll be able to say for certain. At the moment, YouTube is restricted, so it's social networking, but it may well be available, but it's not been set in stone
I
yet.
just wondering.
It's a question, it's a big question, it's a conversation
Right.
that's going, it's ongoing. Hopefully if the students are, responsible and prepared and educated, then it should be
Okay, thank you.
welcome.
My experience with this is that they tend to err on the side of being more restrictive. That's how it has been at the high school.
I have a couple questions. So the teachers that are currently using Google Docs for the kids to submit their essays, are they going to encourage the students to go through the school Google domain to get emails to submit those documents?
Yes.
Will you transition to that?
At the K-8, that's essentially, 4 through 8th grade, that's essentially already transitioned over. At the high school, there's a lot of teachers that have been using Google Docs historically, and they're in the process of moving over to the new system so that they'll be able to do it all in-house.
Okay, and then you have the Chromebook and you have the iPads and we have Macs in the school. So as far as operating systems, are you going to choose one consistent operating system for the school?
Well, the nice thing about Google Apps for Education and the Google tools is you don't need to specify. It makes it easier in that sense because you just need a device that can go online. It's a big conversation that we need to have before we invest in new technology because the difference in price between a Chromebook compared to a PC, desktop PC compared to a MacBook is huge.
And you can do coding in any of them? Can you do coding in on a Mac?
Well, I mean, and it depends on what level of coding you're doing. I use a lot of Blockly, which allows students it basically teaches the computational thinking aspect rather than remembering lines and lines of code. So they put the blocks in the right order to make something happen. So then they have to get a concept of loops and sequencing and abstraction and everything else. So it's more the process as opposed to remembering the code itself. And that usually most of that stuff is also available online in web browsers. And that's why Web 2.0 has kind of revolutionized how we do things because there's so much stuff that's online that allows students to create, to collaborate, to share. And that is also why the Google Apps for Education piece is so important because to do that and to access many of those tools, they need an email account. And we want them to have an email account that we have some security over.
And as far as parent education, that's the only thing I didn't pick back up on, so will you be offering any support to the parents that there would be additional support to the kids, or they can make decisions on what they want for their kids?
Absolutely. We're in discussions at the K-8 about offering parent sessions regarding screen time and a couple of other things. It's something, and I'll confess, it's been 3 months and a lot of tech solved problems and not so much planning and, being in classrooms as I would like, but it will, now I feel like we've got a lot of the new purchases in place. We're kind of moving over to doing the other piece of my job.
And as far as support for homes that don't have computers or homes that don't have internet access, are you somehow addressing?
So there are 2 conversations that we're having in the technology committee. The first time we met, we talked about student access to technology, being very aware that not everybody has access to the internet, either because of where they are living or because of just access at home. And we also talked about devices. We've had conversations about one-to-one program at the high school. We've had conversations about making the guest network available to students at the high school, so at least they have that opportunity. There are a lot of things that are kind of, this is what we've already done and what I can share about, but there's a lot of things that are in the process that we've been talking about both at the high school, at the K-8 and through the technology committee.
You said something about allowing students access to the guest network. Does that mean they will not have access to the Wi-Fi network at the high school?
The guest network would be one of the Wi-Fi networks. We have it set up. There's 4 right now.
Yeah, I know there are already on the see.
You can see them. Okay. So that has to really come after the student has had the education piece, and we know that they're informed. We have to go through the acceptable use policy. We have to make sure that we're not, opening that kind of worms before we're ready. But it's a possibility that they could be on the student network, a possibility that they could just be on the guest network.
I see.
We're kind of piloting. It's also
as they have
new.
online access, that's what I want.
Yeah. The idea is that, if we have this resource in school, then I don't see why, it would be, students really should be able to access internet. And especially since we can't guarantee that they can do it at home, we need to give them as much opportunities as possible to be able to use the resources that we have at school. And, it doesn't hurt the school district any when they already have a network ready, available.
Yeah, the Google strategy is a good one. The only bad thing is that students tend to have hand-me-down hardware, and Google's support for older machines is less than desirable. So my daughter runs into that all the time.
Okay.
Well, I hope you'll come back every 6 months or a year and give us updates.
I would like to do that.
Like you said, this is a 3-month snapshot and
This
we're just getting
is
started.
little piece.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So number 2, MTA.
We said 3 quick things. One, we are heartened that Carlson won the election, and his opponent was looking at sort of gearing down and possibly moving into reverse some of the work we've been doing in Common Core. And now we feel like, full speed ahead. And secondly, related to that is I'd like to compliment Jason and the board on behalf of all of us. I was at the regional leadership meeting, 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks, and there were lots and lots of group, associations there coming up with problems they've been having around Common Core, going with their board and with their administration, and I just kept realizing, we're not having that problem. We're not having that problem because you've been on top of it, and it's been collaborative and very heads up, and you can see from Rebecca's presentation that our technology piece is moving forward with it, so we're very happy about that. And really, that's all I need to say. Thanks.
Our newest trustee. You ready? Do you want to say anything about what's happening at the school, maybe the homecoming week or?
It was very successful. We had our first cardinal hunt, which was 800 small
for about a half hour, 20 minutes, and it reminded me a lot of the little teeny school I went to school in, longer than I care to admit, and I happened to go in when one of the teachers was working with the English language learners, so I got to see that in progress, and then the other class was doing art, and I just think they're doing a great job. It's a great facility, and I'm pretty happy to represent the Albion folks.
I don't have anything except I'd like to welcome Emily to the board. My former sixth grade student. That's all I have.
I don't have anything.
Anything? We're early.
For 11:01.
Yeah, that's what we do. Okay, so,
Hello. I'll get my presentation going. I don't, always Jason puts these big presentations in front of me, so I get the videos and everything, the music, I gotta compete. But luckily, since Marshall did the first one, I've spruced them up a little bit, more color, trying to get you guys more involved. Because it's very exciting to talk about our first quarter budget report here. It's always very exciting. So we're going to talk about our quarter one results, our budget adjustments for the year, some Fusion updates, and some new toys, of course. So our net assets to start off as of 9/30 was $288,255, which is a net change down of $3,034. This was somewhat expected from the refunds from the Fusion outage, as well as there's a lot of payments that we make in the first quarter that are annual payments that our costs end up front. So this is not anything that we didn't expect or is out of line with the budget as we're going forward. Getting right into the budget adjustments, we'll start off with this as a brief summary, and I think there's a printout came with the board packet, so you've had a chance hopefully to look through a lot of these, but we'll go through the details of all of these here. We'll start off with where we've increased our expected income. We've increased our analog income because our analog customers just keep on hanging on out there. There's still a lot of dial-up customers, so we've slowed our attrition level down in the budget because we're just not losing customers as fast as we've budgeted. Our legacy DSL customers, same thing. We're still seeing people hanging on to legacy DSL longer than we're expecting, so they're bringing our income numbers up as well. Our DSL modem number has gone up because we've improved our inventory control. We're not having as many problems with units being lost, and we have had an increase in replacement sales where people's 10-year-old modems are failing and they're coming in to get new modems. We've also had an increase in the number of toll-free numbers and fax to email accounts that we do. I don't know if everyone knows that we do offer, along with phone and internet service, you can get a phone number with the fax that sends directly to your email, and 1-800 kind of service through MCN as well. And then the sales tax was increased just because it was calculated wrong in the budget, so that's been corrected. On the decrease side, we have had a big drop in our Fusion conversion, which we think is partially due to the outage. We think we've seen a big drop off in that, but we're working on getting people's confidence back. We've seen them start to take back up. We had definitely a big dip right around that time. We've also dropped our income from our domain because we've dropped our $40 setup fee for domains. This was a thing that we used to charge, or we've been charging since the very early days, but it's not something that is common in the industry, so we've decided that we should drop that. And then we also dropped $1,286 out of our budget from the MUSD Wi-Fi project because we got it done faster than expected and saved you guys even some more money. So good for you guys, bad for my budget. And then here's a brief overview of our expense adjustments here. We'll go into the details on that. The biggest increase in expense is that we are looking at keeping, we're hoping to move on to a new, less expensive antivirus and anti-spam solution, but the new equipment that we needed to start working on it didn't arrive until last week, so that is not looking like we will be in a place where we will feel comfortable to offer anything new So we've gone ahead and put that back into the budget for this year. And then we've also increased our insurance because the general liability that covers the district, they decided that they didn't want to cover MSAN's building, so we had to go get a separate policy for that. So we've increased that. We've also had some decreased expected expenses. The big one, the first top two was we were looking at several different ways of purchasing equipment, and we ended up leasing equipment, which saved us money, and this year allowed us to amortize some of that over some future years. Also, our overall expense to modems has dropped again because of our better inventory. And then we're actually saving $1,000 this year in bank fees because of the interchange rate drop. The fees that bank charges each other lowered our overall, what it costs us to run a person's credit card, saving us about $1,000 for the year. It's always a good one. Right now we're looking at a profit of $40,219 for the year, and then we'll have our MUSD contribution of $40,000, leaving us with just squeaking into the black at the moment at $219, but we're hoping to see that number grow as the year goes. We like to keep our numbers conservative, especially at this time of year. Fusion, as of the 5th of this month, we had 1,362 active Fusion circuits in Mendocino and Fort Bragg, which 840 of those being in Fort Bragg, or just under 30% of what we think is how many homes there are in Fort Bragg. An additional 237 people still on legacy DSL in Fort Bragg, which, as you can see, we have quite a bit over a third of the market in Fort Bragg as far as internet goes. And then Mendocino, 537 Fusion customers, close to 60% of all the phones in town, plus 122 people still on legacy DSL as well. So what's coming up next for us, of course, is that, last week our new toys showed up. So, new service showed up. So we had our rack of 3 new servers, new NetApp came in. So what our current existing servers look like, they're just these little 1U boxes. We currently have 6 of those that we run 40 virtual machines off of these 6 boxes to provide all the different services that we provide. Our current servers, we have 5 of them that are, it's a little technical, but it's 5 dual processor with 4 core machines running at 3 gigahertz and 1 machine with 2 processors with 6 cores running at 2.8. Total of 52 processing cores in these 6 machines. Yeah. This, well, wait till you get to my RAM. Come on, each of these 8 sticks of 4 gigs of this, so 32 gigs of RAM per server times 6 servers, 192 gigs of RAM between our 6 servers. That's our current servers. The new servers have, we got 3 new servers. They have 2 processors each with 12 cores for a total of 72 cores amongst these 3 boxes. 16 sticks of 16 gigs for 256 gigs of RAM in a single box. So more RAM than we have on our entire network right now in a single box, for a total of, basically 3/4 of a terabyte of RAM between these boxes. There's really a lot of power. Gives us a lot more room to expand into some new services. And so we took some quick pictures so you could see the, all the different, lots of RAM in these boxes. And then, of course, there's the storage portion of this. All of our stuff is stored on a NetApp server, which our new boxes, this is the actual box that's set up. There are our current NetApp storage 26 hard drive system, which has 9.6 terabytes of usable space. Our new system is 24 hard drives, giving us 16.54 terabytes of usable space. So, and the old equipment is going to remain in place, and we're going to continue to use it. So we'll actually have, over 25 terabytes of total storage. The new NetApps, it's a dual head configuration built for failover, so each head controls 12 out of the 24 hard drives. Both heads are capable of taking over all 24 hard drives in case we have a failure, and we also have the enhanced backup ability with what they call Snap Mirror, so it allows us to better restore snapshots. We keep hourly snapshots of all of our data so that we can go back, jump back to how things were an hour ago, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, up to 24, and then weekly backups beyond that. Very exciting. Any questions?
Any news on your EOIP?
This is the stuff that's it's going to come on. So we've been waiting for this to come in so that we can start setting it up, and we actually have in the knock here in town, we've got the software set up and some VoIP phones that we're playing with and stuff. So yes, it is coming very soon. Oh yes, so this is an action item here for you guys to approve.
I'll move to approve the first quarter report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
6 o'clock?
Do 11 too, he's going to just pass it out. Yeah, so she's just going to pass it out.
Okay, so 11.2 is a consideration of an MOU with CCM regarding activities at the old historic grammar school. Essentially, they would like to explore the option of hosting weddings and other events that they would serve alcohol at. And we've been kind of going back and forth about the legality of that through the Business and Professions Code as well as the Mendocino County Code and of course Ed Code. And I've asked them finally to, it's very gray. And I've asked them to develop an MOU and let them know that I would run it by the board as well as our legal counsel. And so it was handed to me at 3:45 today. So I figured we would just I would hand it out and you get a chance to look at it and put it back on the agenda for December.
Sounds good. So the action is that we'll table it tonight until next month. I'll move that we table it until next month.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So we are going to go to the parent community comment. Anybody here going to be making a comment tonight?
I believe. I was expecting someone else to comment, so I came to the meeting.
Okay, I'm going to have to read a little paragraph.
Okay.
Welcome then. Hello. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Items not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of this body may be addressed at this time when we submitted to the superintendent in writing for board consideration as an agenda item. A 3-minute limit is set for each speaker on all items. The total time for public input on each item is limited to 20 minutes. The Brown Act does not permit the board to take action on any item that is not on the agenda. In addition, in order to protect the rights of all involved, complaints about employees should be addressed through the district complaint process. Speaking about a personnel issue at a board meeting may prevent the board from being able to act on it. Please see an administrator to initiate the complaint process. The board may briefly respond to public comments by asking questions to clarify the speaker's comments and refer the speaker to the superintendent for further clarification. We thank each of you for your comments and participation at this meeting.
I'd just like to, in general, recently, I'd like to speak to some recent social media event that came up around homecoming. And I'm a parent of a student who went through this district, and I'm also a not very practicing minority faith member. I was raised a particular way. I accept all ways. And I'm so happy homecoming was successful. And the students had a good time. I also understand some of the students were glad to have more time to plan for homecoming. Another positive aspect of the homecoming event itself having been rescheduled, which constantly in social media was characterized very frequently in capital letters as canceled. And I took offense, and I kept trying to state it wasn't canceled, it was rescheduled, and I kept trying to speak to factual errors, and I grew up in a ghetto in the sense that I thought the whole world was Jewish. And I broadened my horizons. I realized the world's wonderfully different, and this district has always made an attempt to embrace all diversity, and I was appreciative of that on many occasions. And I came here supportive, thinking you guys were gonna, and perhaps I missed it, be held accountable for having canceled homecoming. And it perhaps isn't going to be a comment that you're going to have to address, but I came to show support, realize you did something out of respect, and to support the students needing and wanting more time and to make it more convenient. So I just had to say that because I've been thinking about this meeting for almost a month. And thank you for your service.
Thank you for being here, Sharon.
Before you go,
Are you addressing the board?
Yes, I thought Trustee Schaefer put that item on the agenda for this meeting, at the last meeting, to discuss the homecoming.
well, I think how do I put this? My concern last time was that our policy wasn't clear and transparent enough to be clear why we were doing what we did. And I think that what we've done here is at a later part of the agenda, we have our
Yes, that's what I
board
thought
policy.
that's what it was going to be addressed on.
Board policy in the school calendar, where previously we had no criteria listed as a part of our policy for why we do things and what the procedures are. And I think that tonight we have that on the agenda. It's the last item. It's an information-only item, but you know.
Well, can the public comment on the information? See, when I
Well,
originally...
let me just finish, Paul.
Yeah.
So I think the idea was, yes, that you know, we want to respond to the comment that you made, you know, at our last meeting, and we want to have a procedure going forward, because it didn't seem like we had a very clear one in place at the time. Although I think what we're going to be looking at in that proposal follows what we did and what we've always done. And, you know, it's part of our past practice. It just hadn't been written down very well. And our normal procedure when we are amending board policies, it takes three parts. We have a meeting where we introduce it, and it's for information only. We have a second meeting where we call it our first reading and preliminary adoption, where we discuss it at length, or not at length, depending on people's interest. And then the third meeting, we actually adopt it. And if anybody, at that point, it's on the consent agenda. We had a couple of those tonight, but if there's still more need for more discussion, we pull it off the consent agenda and you know, put it on the regular agenda. So I think you know, that's what we attempted to do in this process.
And then to answer your question, if you want to speak to any item on the agenda, this is the opportunity.
Because that's why I want to know. I didn't know
This
this
isn't
was
the
a
time.
time.
No, okay, if you're speaking to an item on the agenda, this is actually the time to don't do that, okay?
This is a time
Wait.
not to do that?
Right, anything on the agenda, this is not addressed during the community parent comment.
Oh, well, let's,
Okay,
this
but wait,
is,
let me finish, I'm sorry. So the item that we're discussing is specifically about the calendar. Okay, but so we don't have an agenda item specifically for homecoming. If you'd
No.
like your time,
no,
you
I
know,
need a
to
point
discuss
of
something.
order. Can I have a point of order? You know, it's not actually a question about anything, it's a point of order. When I tried to get the cancellation and rescheduling of homecoming, I followed the board's procedure by writing down and requesting it be placed. I was told the agenda committee, which they have a committee to decide what goes on the thing, declined to put it on the agenda. my point is, there's no committee to decide when to reschedule events, but there's a committee to decide what goes on the agenda. I'm kind of confused. That's why I hope this is cleared up when we go to the calendar part. That's, all right?
Thank you. Any other community comment before we close? So now we're up to 11.3.
Okay. We can share. So this is a district of choice report. So each May, I give a report as to annually how many students apply for inter-district transfer into and out of our school district. And I provide that information. But as Sally did some research about under Education Code 48313, which is a requirement to report on the inter-district transfer. And of course, we're concerned about the district of choice sunsetting, I guess, at the end of 2016. We have been doing some research on that, and we determined that we're supposed to do a little more than just report to the board. So we put the feelers out there, and I think it was either in Grass Valley or Nevada City. Nevada City is another district of choice, and they do this report, and they report it to the DOJ, I believe, and we're also supposed to report this information to our adjoining districts. So this report is not just, this is our 2013-14 annual report, which we will then submit the proper way now. And we're anxious to do this because it shows just how valuable this program is and what it means to our school district. So this report is, like I said, this includes all of the students in 2013 and 14 who were in our district and out of our school district at that time. So we're supposed to report on all of those categories: gender, race, socioeconomic, whether they're socioeconomic disadvantaged, if they have any students and disabilities, English language status, grade level. So back in 13-14, we had 17 students going from Mendocino to other districts, and 82 students from other districts entering Mendocino Unified. And in 13-14, we had 6 students who were denied. So this just really is a more in-depth report.
And denied is from the district that they live.
Right.
So, and this is a public document, so if anyone has a question, how would they access?
It is. I didn't make enough copies.
Just in
You
general?
can just contact me and I can give you a copy. I can post one at the district office. So.
Jason, do you know that if one of the concerns that needs to be addressed in a document like this is that the students who are denied an application were in a different category than, I mean, we know you said what the why is. It's based on the fact we didn't have room in the classroom for the particular grade level that they were applying to.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can look at the range of disability and socioeconomic range, which is pretty similar to our in-district students. But I mean, it's certainly not all one category. And I would assume the same is true with the denials. They were also spread out, but that might be something you want on a document as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea to put more of an in-depth reason as to why they were denied, and also that they did not, it wasn't because of any of these reasons.
Right.
It was simply enrollment.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make that change.
Thanks to Sally for making this more transparent than we had.
So I just want to, it's the denials are both that the district that they're coming from didn't allow the transfer, and also the ones that we, that's what I'm wondering.
That's a good point, yeah. Some of them were, well, if they're denied from the district they're coming from, we would never, we wouldn't deny it. So we wouldn't get it. So those 6 were denied.
So we don't have a situation that a parent applies, but then
so isn't that right?
Legislative Analyst's Office.
Oh, LA.
But then I thought the DOJ was mentioned in the ed code. I'll have to look at that. I remember the DOJ being mentioned, so maybe if I misspoke, I thought it was the DOJ.
I'm sure, yeah, I just, curious.
Sal, you know I'm good with numbers. So maybe
I'm looking at the ed code and we send it to the CDE and the LAO.
Okay, 11.4.
Right, so this is a follow-up from our meeting in Albion where we were going to discuss the protocols for open session items, open session information discussion and action items. So I believe we put just some guidance in your board packet, providing public opportunity to address the board. Many boards operate differently. This, from my experience in my 3+ years here, that this board does value public input, public comment. We open up action items and we discuss it as a board. We discuss it as a board. We take information, we take questions from the public at really any time. There's a question as to whether or not we need to be more structured in that way. So I think we
And a question of inconsistency of timed items.
right. And then just discussing very quickly the difference between the timed item and the open session items. I think that should be clarified for everyone. So open up to the board to discuss.
So you brought this up.
I did. So I think, certainly Wiley doesn't want a headline anywhere, social media or not, that she wants the public, shut up at the meeting in any way, shape, or form. I'm wondering if my idea was to talk about running the most efficient meeting possible, and it was my understanding. I've been in other Brown Act bodies where we have an action item on the board, doesn't matter what it is. Action item, public input, please, tell us what you think, public. And then if that period is closed and the matter comes back to the board for board discussion and action. And so I'm just wondering how it works here, and if my understanding is correct, that that's the way it would run, or if there's a different sort of local flavor to the way that we do it.
I think in general, that's what we do, although I think that we probably entertain more give and take in that process, so it's not just A and B, it could be A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. But certainly the process always ends with the board by itself taking action based on its own beliefs and with the contribution of the input from the public.
And based also on specifically what the agenda item is. So in other words, if during that discussion, if there's a tangent to another subject, there's no action that's put on future agenda item, part of at the end of the meeting, the next meeting. But to hear very strongly to specifically the purpose of that agenda item, because you can't open up a new agenda item, of course, that would be a violation to do that. So even through that discussion, we have to bring it back down to specifically what's on the agenda. We do have a distinction during the parent community comment time. There's a 20.
Just wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm good with that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. So what that's about is that there's a difference. So there is a 3-minute limit per speaker, 20-minute per subject for the community comment time. And that's different than when we open up an agenda item to the audience. Unless it's specified on the agenda, that's not.
So say we're going to talk about an action item, and here's the action item. Public, what's your comment? Is there a time limit total on each action item?
If we do have one, it is specified very specific about the MCN agenda. They don't say, well, MCN agenda and how it relates to education.
Right.
That's when we draw the line. But
I think that we've been blessed, really, with cooperation, certainly in the 11 years I've been on the board. We've had certainly times when we had to have time limits because there were a lot of people wanted to talk about particularly contentious things. But I think that we've certainly not had rowdiness be a part of, I've seen takes of other school board meetings that are shocking. I mean, fisticuffs and,
Oh, I know.
and all sorts of things can happen in what you think of as a pretty non-violent place. But I think that we're Mendocino-ish in the sense that we do allow back and forth perhaps more than some bodies do, and that that usually has worked well for us. But I think it's always appropriate for any board member to say, "Halt, I want to talk about this in the context of a particular item," and say we should bring it back to the board or set a time limit for additional public comment or whatever. I think that's always appropriate. So I think if you're worried that something's getting out of hand, then raise your voice and we'll all decide together on how to do that.
Thank you for the comment, because I think what, I've only been on the board not even a year yet, but I think our board meetings are pretty long and go, to 8 o'clock at night on sometimes, although recently we've been pretty good about that. So when we have what could potentially be a contentious item, I feel more comfortable being a board member and saying, okay, thank you, public. Madam President, could you call it? How do I do that? Do I just ask you, can we call it back to the board? Okay. And then at that point, my expectation would be that you would close public comment and then it would just be our dialogue on the action.
right,
Okay.
It's not really closing public comment. Well, officially, the way we end a certain time item. So basically, board meetings, and I know this early on, that board meetings are really the board doing its business, in the presence of the public. So I think just saying something, that, okay, it's time to wrap this up, it's going on too long, is fine. Any board member could do that. I don't see a problem.
I think normally when things get toward that degree of out of hand that I think you're concerned about, it's because we've got a lot of back and forth talk, and sometimes that isn't as productive as other times. And my concern is that everybody get heard,
Right.
and that if they're still contributing to the conversation, I want to keep hearing. But that's just my personal opinion. And as a board, we get to decide how much flexibility you want to give it. And I think what I'm saying at least, is that we do that individually
On the fly.
On the fly.
Yeah. I just don't want to get to some item where suddenly it is contentious and we have, 40, 50 minutes of something discussion and then another 20 minutes of back and forth and then final discussion on the item. And so I was wondering how to tactfully navigate that without, breaking protocols, breaking Brown Act, whatever. So I'm satisfied
I
with
think
that.
saying, I feel like you've covered this, feel like it's repetitive, or, whatever you want to say.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay, thank you.
So is there,
So now
So, sir,
there's no action on
There was
that.
just
We're going to bring back 8.9 at this point,
okay.
which is the AE week. And the reason I asked it to be taken off the consent agenda is that the part that the board is really voting on is the trips that are outside of the state of California, because that's a requirement under Ed Code that trips outside the state of California be approved by the governing board. And there are 3 trips on this year's schedule that are in that category, one of which we've already talked about, which is the baseball trip to windsurfing trip to Oregon and then the Shakespeare and college tour was also hard. So because that wasn't listed in the agenda, I thought we should bring it to the regular agenda and just be clear of what we're voting on and what we're talking about. And I certainly approve on it. Want to do anything other than be totally correct about how we've gone about it. So I will move we adopt what has previously been 8.9, which is approval of the out-of-state trips for a
I'll second.
All in favor? And then I'll move back.
Okay. So 11.5 was recently brought up by someone, her, that we have a meeting at the high school. So we could maybe see the facilities and take a quick tour. We might have to get the cameras on the shoulders and walk around. But I'm proposing, I'd like to recommend that we change the location of the February 26th, 2015 board meeting to the high school.
We didn't have that listed as an action, so maybe we should discuss it.
Well, I think when it says up on top, information discussion action, I think we can end up taking.
well, I think what we adopt next month our calendar, right? So if that date is approved in the calendar, we can give you direction that that's fine with us, and then we put it in the calendar and then we'll adopt it next time. Unless anybody has an objection to it. No. So I think we're unanimous on that.
Okay, so the first reading of policy MP 5144, suspension and expulsion due process. This really has to do with the new requirement of school districts to attempt prior corrective action before suspension, particularly the younger kids. And I'm trying to find exactly where that's located. But that's the main change in this policy.
I know when I went through it and I was realizing that what I thought was a new provision, which was the requirement of parental attendance in certain circumstances. But we already had that as part of our policy.
Yeah.
Do we implement that very well?
We do. You know, if they're not attending, we get them back home.
So I need,
I move that we adopt board policy 5144.1 as a first reading.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And this is 11.7.
Okay, so this is information only, but just to point out, on the school calendar, the whole section of scheduling of school events is new. This is what we'd like you to take a look at, and we'll look at it for first reading in December. But it does
Let's
obviously.
scroll up so that we can see
There you
the
go.
new part. Yeah, there we go. That everything under scheduling school events is in addition to, I don't think there's anything in there that doesn't represent what we have historically done, but it's the first time we put it in writing.
So, so that scheduling of school events, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the new part of this policy.
Right.
Correct.
And it's to clarify a public, public statement or comment from the last meeting.
Well, among other things. And I
Among
think-
other
It's just not
things.
that.
Among other things.
But I think the public comment showed that there was a deficiency in the clarity about how we went about making our decisions. And this codifies what I think we've already done, but just puts it on paper so we can say, this is how we do it.
And Jason, people are interested in seeing board policies, they call you, they go to the office.
Call the district office.
Aren't they still all online?
Don't have them on the net.
We used to have all the board policies online, and maybe we should work at doing that again.
once we fiddle around with the gamut, you can just log in and see theirs, right?
Board members could, but the public.
Public can't, because you can give them a password.
Well, right, but I think we put our board policies that we adopted online.
Right.
You know, they were all, I mean, you know, and I think it's fairly easy to do because they're all digital anyway.
The district's website is really up to date. Doesn't even have the current email addresses of the teachers. That's true.
Some, yeah, some of them are, are you talking about the district website or the school website?
No, certainly the K-8 School. At general, the district website.
We don't have anyone right now to maintain
Yeah,
this.
it needs help.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
But also we're looking at changing our entire format.
Yeah.
That website is a monster.
Yeah.
But not, no
No,
excuses.
no, I understand.
excuses.
I understand. It's
No, I
just-
did a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and then if, along those lines, if somebody, if there is some web genius that wants to do that or can do that, is it possible to explore putting all the backup material on rather than just the agenda? Because then you wouldn't have to mail me a CD with the agenda and all the backup, and it would be available to the public too.
Well, Sage is gone, but I talked.
So Sage can do it.
No, about how, what is out there for web hosting and content. So I'm really looking at doing something different next year.
Good.
It's really hard to work with this kind of.
There are several school districts that have that capacity where you can go in and look at their agenda and then all the backup
Yeah,
material. which
drill
is-
into the backup.
So, I mean, obviously the, confidential closed session stuff isn't on that website, but the rest.
Yeah, so everybody can see this policy before we are here tonight, looking at it as well.
Yeah, I'd like to make, there's a time to comment now on this, am I allowed to?
I think if you want to make a comment and realize that we're probably going to wait until next time to have a real discussion. But if you want to make a comment,
I'm not used to the protocol, and that's,
that's fine. But if you want to make a comment for us to think about while we're thinking about it before next month, go ahead.
Now?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, it seems like, I'm really glad to see this. It's very nice, it's a good step in the right direction, but you still established a historic precedent by postponing or canceling rescheduling. You already opened the door, and this is a very good idea, and we still don't know what, it says, in writing, written request. Now, can we do that? Now, obviously, there wasn't a written request last time, but how soon do you write the request? Can you do it like in a week's notice, like this year? Is there, in advance, how many people have to get together? One person, two people, 12 apostles, what?
So are you talking about 3?
I'm talking about how many, if I want to honor a religion that's, I'm in a minority, I don't know what I think of, just whatever, or if I want to celebrate Pat Robinson's birthday, is that, consideration, or is it just limited to major religious holidays, or can it be sports events? Can it be, last time you had a meeting, the Giants were in the World Series. I mean, is there other reasons to postpone besides major religious holidays?
Okay, so you're suggesting that we add in our language parameters.
Well, I'm just saying.
Time frame, it has to be a generic, kind of sentence.
Yeah, but why does it have to be just major religious holidays? Why does religion have to enter into it at all? That's a personal choice of people, and there's many religions and whatever. Is there some way you can take the word religion out of it? Just say holidays, major holidays.
So,
I don't know why you're mixing religion in with public schools.
I get your point, and I would say, because I don't think we want to have this discussion now, but next month. But I would very much be interested in your draft of what you think these 4 points should look like.
I would be happy to.
And if you would do that, I'll be sure to comment on it next time.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And go up to teacher. Future agenda items. Any other suggestions?
other aspects of district program that you think should be highlighted in a similar way and bring those people before us so that we get a rounded view, you know.
I think we already have somebody lined up for December, right? Added program? I think added.
I'm sorry.
For teacher report presentation, I believe December. I think we have added as I talked about, but yeah.
But I mean, one of the things that I can see us, you know, benefiting from a broad view of would be like our sports program. You know, and not only in terms of what we're doing, because I think it gets pretty dry, but in terms of why we're doing it, and what it could lead to, and how we might change it under the circumstances, the kind of issues that come up. That, you know, I think we should get another update on Common Core and how we're addressing that. And especially as we go into the spring and we're having our first test situation, what we expect to get out of those tests and what we may not get out of them.
So whether it's a teacher coming or not, I'll try to have some kind of district program that we maybe I report to.
Sure.
You want that as early as
No, I'm just talking in the future. These are just future agenda, just as part of our thing, because it was such a valuable, it's always a very valuable thing when we have a teacher come in and.
I agree, and I would second that. You know, perhaps February we could have 2 or 3 high school reports. If we want to have.
At our retreat, we decided to have some focus on the English program. And so I don't know if we are due to have a report on what the plans are. Kim told us today about the 2 math programs that are being piloted. Maybe someone to bring us up to date on what's happening in our English program. Okay. Next meeting, December 18th. Right here. Thank you for staying for the meeting. This is our biggest audience. I bet it's Emily, right? Yeah. You're in the draw.
Both sides very impressive.